In this video, we're going to connect SharePoint to your email using Power Automate. Hello, I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. So in this video, we're going to go to office.com, click on Apps, and go down to SharePoint. Of course, you will need to have the appropriate license if you're going to follow along. I'm going to go to a site that I previously created, and I'm going to create a new list. Whenever a new item is created in that list, I want an email to be sent to me. So I'm going to go to New List, and I'm going to create a blank list, and this is going to be my Practice Activity 7 SharePoint list. Now, this Practice Activity number 7, this is coming from my course about the Microsoft Applied Skills Create and Manage Automated Processes by using Power Automate. So I can enter a description as well if I want, and I'm going to show it in site navigation, in other words, on the left-hand side, and click Create. So there we'll see my new Practice Activity SharePoint list, and I've got a title. So I'm just going to rename that. I'm going to go into column settings, rename, and call it something like item name. I can add additional columns if I wish. So the idea is that when I create a new item, so this is my first item, and click Save, I want to receive in my Outlook, again, this is outlook.office.com, I want to receive an email. And we can connect these two, SharePoint and email, and many others using Power Automate. So I could use Copilot and type in details of how I want my automation to work, but let's see how we can create it from scratch. So I'll go to Create on the left-hand side, and we can see all of these different flows. So it could be an instant or button flow, so I click a button and the flow runs. It could be a scheduled flow, so I choose how often and when it runs. Or it could be an automated flow, triggered by designated event. What the event is, there's a new list item added in a list in SharePoint. So that is an automated cloud flow. So if I click on this, and I'll just skip this part and go to the editor. So I'm going to give it a name. I'll go to Untitled at the top. So this is my Practice Activity 7 flow. So the first thing we need to have is, if I click Edit, a trigger. So why does your flow need to run? So I'll click on Trigger. I'll just get rid of the Copilot. And it needs to run because of something in SharePoint. So I'll click on SharePoint, and I've got when an item is created. So I'll click on that. So I need the site address. Now currently I am in the site, but I'm also in the list, and I don't want that. I want the site itself. So I'll go to Home, and that's the site. So you can see it's got sharepoint.com, it's got sites, and it's got the name of the site. So I will copy that and paste it into the site address. Now I can also use the drop-down list if I have got my team site connected, but let's say I don't, I will paste the list instead. Next, I need the list name, and I can choose this from the drop-down. So there is my Practice Activity 7 SharePoint list. Now, how often do you want to check for the items? Well, it defaults every few minutes, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to change it because I'm slightly impatient for this particular video. I'm going to change it to every 20 seconds. So that is the reason why the flow will run. So now what does it do? Well, I want it to send an email to me. Now, for it to send an email to me, I need to know who me is. So I will click on the plus and add an action. And this action is going to be for Office 365 users. I need to look up who I am. So I'll click that, and then I'll get my profile. That's all I need to do. And now I can send me an email. So click on the plus again, add an action, and I'll type in email, and I'll use the Office 365 Outlook connector. If I try to use the mail one, I'll find that I can't for new tenants, new organizations. So I will send an email version 2. And who am I going to send it to? Well, I'm going to enter a custom value, and I'm going to use this lightning icon to enter data from one of the previous steps. So the step I want is get my profile, and I want my email. So I'll type in email, and there we can see mail. So that's who I'm going to send it to. So specify the subject of the email. I'll say a new item has been created in my SharePoint list. And I'll copy that into the body, but I also want what has been added. So again, I'll click the lightning icon and I will scroll down to our trigger. And what I want is the name. So there we can see the file name of the item created. So I'll use that. It may or may not be the right thing, but it's worth testing and seeing whether it is. So I'm going to click save. So it's saving. So just wait till it's finished saving. So if there are any error messages, they would come up here. So we recommend you test it. So I'll click on test. I'll test manually and click test. And to see it work, perform the starting action. But what I'm going to do instead is just go to my flows, and you can see it's turned on and will trigger when you add a new item. So let's go back into my list. So I'll go into the SharePoint website and into my practice activity 7 SharePoint list, and I will add a new item. So this is my second item and click save. So it doesn't run immediately. Power Automate flows are asynchronous. They don't happen at the same time. However, it should happen within the next, say, 20 seconds. And when it happens, I'll receive an email. And I should hear a little bell when that happens. And here you can see that we have a new flow running and now succeeded. So I can click into it and I can see that all 3 items have a check mark. But the proof of the pudding is opening up my email, and you can see a new item has been created in my SharePoint list. So as I thought, I may not have used exactly the right field. So if I go into send an email, you can see it's not included there. But if I go into when an item is created and click on downloads, we can see here, this is my second item. It's called the title. So let's edit our flow. Go back into send an email, edit again. And I'm going to add at the end of this, because if name is blank, it's not going to show anything. I'm going to add the title, and I might add some other things as well. Maybe the list ID. And some other fields. Maybe the full path of it as well. So let's click save. Saving. We go back. So it's only been run the once. Let's add an extra item. So this is my third item. Click save. And we just wait for that bell to sound. So you can hear that I've just received a new email. And now it contains, this is my third item, and other information as well. And if I just click on all runs, here we can see that it has indeed run a second time. Now, of course, there's plenty more that you can do in Power Automate. For example, maybe you want to have a flow which notifies you about weather conditions. So you can see if I go to my emails that I receive a regular email showing the last 12 hours of weather in Florida. And it starts off at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, goes down to 62, and then starts recovering up to 64. Or maybe you don't want an email, maybe you want to save it in a spreadsheet. So here we can see over a month's worth of weather conditions. Or maybe you want a button where you can apply for leave for vacation and have an approval process. All of these are possible using Power Automate flows. Now, in October 2023, Microsoft announced the launch of Microsoft Applied Skills, a series of assessments where instead of having to learn a lot about one particular topic, like for instance the Power Platform, learning Canvas apps and model-driven apps and Power Automate and other things, you can focus on just one particular item. So, for example, we have a create and manage automated processes by using Power Automate. And if you go down the tasks to be performed, they are creating triggers, creating and configuring actions for notifications, implementing conditional logic, creating and configuring approvals, and configuring owners and sharing. And if you want to learn all of those, then there is a learning path on this page. However, this learning path was not created based on these particular tasks performed, so sometimes they go outside of the requirements. Alternatively, I hope you might join me in my new Microsoft Applied Skills course. So in this course, we will be learning the skills that you need for this Microsoft Applied Skills assessment in just 2 hours. We will sign up for the Microsoft Power Platform Developer Plan so you can do this for free, and we'll go through 6 different activities: recording the weather every 30 minutes, as you have just seen, sending a notification listing SharePoint library files, processing emails which have the word complaint in the subject, create an approval process based on a leave request, send an email containing the last 12 hours weather, again as you've seen, and create an approval process for a new Word document file. So once you have gone through this course with a bit of practice, you should then be able to take the assessment for the Microsoft Applied skill. There's a link to our course in the description to this video. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then why not click on the like and why not subscribe and click that bell? That way you'll be notified of any new videos. And there are plenty more videos about Microsoft Applied Skills. There'll be one on your end screen and there'll be a playlist that you can click on to find out more. I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. Thanks for watching and keep learning.